Hello and how you doing, and welcome back to Two Jagoffs. I am your host, Austin Cairns, joined here with...
Jumbo Cairns.
Also joined here with...
Lucas Khuns.
And welcome back to Two Jagoffs, and welcome to the Super Bowl recap. Now, last week here on the podcast, we had an all-star panel. Of course, it was the three of us, joined with Mr. Jack Dean to discuss, debate, and predict the Super Bowl. But today on the podcast, I am joined here by my dad and Lucas, who have both been all-stars this year and helping me cover the NFL season. And it's finally time we wrap it up and we conclude it by recapping the final game of the 2024-2025 NFL season. Now let's talk about this matchup real quick. It was a matchup for the ages. The rematch from 2 years ago. The Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning, defending, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who was looking for vengeance after narrowly losing to the Chiefs 2 years back. The final score of this game was 40-22, and it was all Philadelphia. Dad, I'm going to go to you on this one first. Now, I know you're the Chiefs fan. We've been all talking about the Chiefs all year long, but they completely collapsed on Sunday. We were both in the same room watching it. What was your reaction to this game?
Terrible. Worst game I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes play. Offensively, defensively, coaching, 100% terrible. I played, I coached. They got their asses beat.
All right, Lucas, what was your reaction?
I kind of called it. I said Philadelphia was going to win. I did not expect it to be this much of a distant score. I actually thought it was going to be just like a one-score game. I thought it was going to come down to the end of the game too, but really, Philadelphia's defense kind of just knew they won at the end. I mean, they gave up. It was basically 40-6 at that point. Kansas City got some late scores that didn't really help them. They had 3 minutes left to basically score 3 more touchdowns to get some 2-point conversions. I think the most shocking thing is that Mr. Jack Dean was the closest to predict this game out of any of us. And we all picked on him.
He was the closest. I mean, if you just give me a second here, I'll pull up the scores. Last week, Jack predicted 48-16. Lucas, you picked it 38-30. Dad, you picked 27-20 KC, and then I picked 28-25. So, yeah, Jack was the closest one to predicting it. And he has not been on a single NFL episode this year, so shout out to Jack for that one. But no, here's my reaction to this game. Dad, I mean, you said it. The Chiefs got their ass kicked in this game. The Philadelphia Eagles outplayed them in all 4 phases of the game of football. Offense, defense, special teams, coaching. They were completely annihilated in this game. And we're going to go into the specifics here in a second. We're going to go into the stats here. But, Dad, I want to go to you on this one first. When we talk about Patrick Mahomes, 7 consecutive AFC championships. 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl victories, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, and now he has 2 Super Bowl losses. Has teams finally figured out Patrick Mahomes?
No. Absolutely not. What Philly figured out was Kansas City's tackles are god-awful. When they were rushing, they knew they would get pressure on the outside. What Philadelphia did was they were smart enough to either drop a lineman or a linebacker into the rushing lane where Patrick Mahomes is going to pull up and go off and run for yardage. Where the Chiefs made the mistake, the first 15 plays of that game, 14 of them were passing. They never established a run to knock Philly off of that. That is where the problem lied at the beginning of that game. They set the tone right then and there. I don't think anybody's really figured out Patrick Mahomes. He needs linemen, period. We sat up here 2 years ago and me and you talked about Taylor. He's god-awful. He's terrible. They had a tackle move over Humphrey. It just ain't enough. You need the reason why Brady won so many Super Bowls, Brady always had a line where he took less hits. When you take less hits, you can win games. I mean, what the Chiefs did after they got beat on by Tampa Bay, they went out and got a couple linemen. Guess what happened? They won 2 Super Bowls after it. I mean, you go out and get some linemen. Who knows? That's all I'm going to say. I wouldn't say that they figured out Mahomes. He needs a line. To be as good as he is, he still needs a line.
Yeah, I mean, the line just completely collapsed this game. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Mahomes get close to sacked, let alone sacked as many times as I saw this game. Didn't he get sacked like 6 times?
6 times, the most he has ever been sacked in an NFL game.
Yeah, I mean,
in his career.
That was bad. And he couldn't even get blocking help from Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce gave up blocking this game. He sat there and just looked like he's never played before. So I don't know what happened on that part, but no one was blocking for him. He was getting pressured. He was throwing bad balls because of the pressure. He wasn't able to scramble outside because they were just on him. And there was nothing he could do. There was nothing Patrick Mahomes could have done to save this game. As much as he can put this team on his back, he can't do it if he's just getting pressured the whole game.
See, this is where I agree and disagree with you guys. I'm not going to fully blame this on Patrick Mahomes and say teams figured out him specifically, but the Eagles most certainly did a great job at containing him in this game. Listen, the Philadelphia Eagles did not blitz a single snap in this game. There has only been 6 times in Super Bowl history that a team has not blitzed once. All 6 of those teams went on to win the Super Bowl that year. The Philadelphia Eagles beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs simply rushing 4 guys the entire time. Now, you can also blame Travis Kelce for those couple of drops. Lucas, you alluded to the lack of blocking, the lack of creating separation. Travis Kelce was not in it in this game. But I'm not going to sit up here and completely say Patrick Mahomes played Superman like he did in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. Dad, you're 100% correct. He did not have an offensive line in that game. This game, he did have an offensive line. 3 out of the 5 linemen were Pro Bowlers, all pro players. Taylor, you mentioned his garbage, but outside of that, these are consistent players. Once they went out and grabbed tackles and grabbed guards and Humphrey, they won back-to-back Super Bowls. This year, I'm not buying that. I'm not blaming it completely on the line. The line definitely had something to do with it, but the fact that the Eagles only rushed 4 men the entire time, pretty much had 7 back in coverage, no, I'm not going to say that's an offensive line issue. Patrick Mahomes at the end of the first half had a QBR of 1. 1 was his QBR. Overall, he had a QBR of 14.1. That is awful for the starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. That pushes the GOAT debate probably back another 10 years until we can see the longevity of Patrick Mahomes. That discussion is over. Stephen A. said it on First Take. Joe Montana's back in the conversation now in terms of GOAT because of how bad Patrick Mahomes played in this game. I also want to point out another stat to you guys. Against Tampa Bay, the defense pressured 41% of snaps. Philadelphia only did it 38. Yet they were able to get 6 sacks, 1 forced fumble, a pick 6 from Cooper DeJean, who's your boy Lucas, by the way, and another interception on the 14-yard line, which is pretty much giving up another touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs shot themselves in the foot here. I completely blame all that, and I'm glad you brought this up because this is something I actually brought up with my Steel City Commuters podcast earlier this week. They did not establish the run early on. To establish a solid passing game, you need to establish a run game, and you have to establish it early. The run game opens up the passing lanes. The run game opens up the passing attack. They never did that. They forced the pass way too early on. And as great as Patrick Mahomes is, he was not able to meet the criteria of what was expected. Philadelphia was young, Philadelphia is hungry, and Philadelphia was ready for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Where Patrick Mahomes failed is he tried to do too much with what he was dealt with. When you don't establish a run, and when you're not getting, they're getting to you. Granted, they didn't pressure. The difference between that line and Tampa Bay's line is, and I don't care about Pro Bowls. I know you threw the Pro Bowls.
I said all pros too.
Right, three Pro Bowls these guys made are all pros. That means nothing no more in the NFL. That's a joke. The All Pro status, the Pro Bowl status, that's a joke. What I'm trying to say is the Tampa Bay line is nowhere near as good as that Philly line is. That Philly line is fantastic. Probably should get on up there with the Steel Curtain, maybe the People Purple Eater. That line is fantastic. What I'm trying to say is that line was getting to him so bad, he was trying to be Superman with no time. And guess what happens when you try to be Superman with no time? He threw a bad pick 6. That was a bad throw. Then, didn't feel the pressure. Got a strip sack. Then, on the 14-yard line, another bad decision to not throw the ball away. Because he couldn't run. There was nowhere for him to run. Because when they were dropping somebody in the center of the field, they took away his running abilities. So the only thing he can do is take the sack or make a quick throw or a bad throw. And it was either the sack or the bad throw 90% of that game. He had 23 yards, I think, in the first half.
Yeah.
That's on him.
23 total net yards.
And I disagree with what Lucas said about the getting some garbage touchdowns at the end. Did you see that ball that he threw for 50 yards?
To Worthy?
Listen, I don't care if Philly was playing or not. Like, if they were laying back, that dude got smoked. And that was a dime he dropped. Granted, they were out of the game. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, though, you got to give credit where credit's due. That was one hell of a throw on the money, touchdown. Had that been at the beginning game, we might have been talking some different stuff. I don't know. I mean, listen, they got beat. Period.
See, look, here's the difference, though. That was a beautiful throw, beautiful catch on the run, beautiful catch and stride by Xavier Worthy, but that doesn't change the fact that Kansas City only had one first down in the entire first half.
I'm not
That is
saying
completely
it
on Kansas City, and you got to put some of the blame on Mahomes. Look, I'm still not buying this offensive line thing that you're saying. I get what you're saying. The Pro Bowls don't matter, the All-Pros don't matter, the top 100s don't matter. But at the end of the day, these are still three of the better linemen that we have in the game of football. You have arguably the best center in the league in Creed Humphrey. You have two of the better tackles, yet you guys got completely demolished by Philadelphia. Now, this is taking nothing away from them because we know how great Philadelphia is. We know how great Jalen Carter is, and Cooper DeJean, and Graham, and all these guys, and Mitchell, Slay, Gardner Johnson. They got a lot of talent on this defense, especially in that secondary. But the Kansas City Chiefs failed to do one thing, and that was get the ball out in an appropriate amount of time. I was sitting there. You were in the living room with me, Dad, watching this game. I was even counting out loud Patrick Mahomes' time in the pocket. 1, 2, 3, 4. Listen, if you're not getting the ball out within 4 to 5 seconds, that's on the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is able to get it out in 3 seconds. Russell Wilson's able to get it out in 3 seconds. Hell, I'll even throw out Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. These are guys that are able to get out in 3 seconds. I'm not saying Mahomes can't. Mahomes can too, but he did not do that. He chose to hold onto the ball too much time in the pocket. Yes, there was plenty of plays where he did have to either take the sack or he had to make a bad throw, but there was plenty of plays where he could have chose to throw it out of bounds or he could have chose to take off. There were plenty of lanes that opened up. The problem was they didn't open the run game early on, which is what contained Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. Because Philadelphia knew what they were going to do. They knew they were going to come out swinging. They knew they were going to come out throwing the football deep downfield. The way the Kansas City Chiefs played against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl is exactly the same way the Buffalo Bills came out and started against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Josh Allen was under pressure early on. He made 2 bad throws early in the game, which set the tone. The Chiefs pretty much did the exact same thing. Cook wasn't even a factor until the third quarter. Pacheco and Hunt was not a factor at all in this game.
Guess who wasn't a factor? You guys see them? The big fella. I didn't see him at all.
Travis Kelce?
Didn't see him at all.
No, I know he was useless in this game too. I mean, he failed to create separation. I think I counted 3 drops of his. Lucas mentioned the blocking, not being there.
Kelce basically is the reason Patrick Mahomes fumbled.
Yeah?
The turnover that went to the Eagles. That was on him. He did not block at all. And that player's the one that knocked out the ball. I forget what player he didn't block.
So I want to get your guys' overall thoughts and opinions on Kansas City, I guess, before we move into the Philadelphia side of things. Now, we're breaking down the Chiefs. We're talking about Mahomes. We're talking about the line. Of course, defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, he was all over the place as well. Andy Reid. I want to get your guys' final thoughts and opinion on this. Is the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty over?
Absolutely.
And are they going to be back in the Super Bowl next year?
I don't know if they'll be in the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't say their dynasty's over. I'd say as long as they got Mahomes, it's going to come down to the front office making moves, and they do need linemen. I don't know where you think that Taylor's a good tackle.
I never said Taylor was a good lineman.
Because
Have
that's
I ever said Taylor was a good lineman?
Preposterous for even thinking that way.
Lucas, have I ever said Taylor was ever a good lineman in the last 2 years of doing 2 Jagoffs?
Listen. I'm just saying, they need linemen.
They need linemen. But
So
to sit
if-
up here and say
if-
that their
if-
lineman is practically the exact same as Tampa Bay, there's no way. I'm not buying the whole, their line was awful with Tampa Bay. Then they got it so good and
But
so
let me ask you a
powerful. Hold on,
question.
time out. They got it so good and so powerful that they won 2 straight championships, and then the year after that, it immediately plummets back to the same as it was with Tampa Bay. I'm sorry, that's a bad excuse.
No.
That sounds like
No.
an excuse to protect Patrick Mahomes.
No,
to me.
it's
That's
not.
what that sounds
Listen
like.
to me. What you fail to realize, last year, Taylor was god-awful last year.
Taylor has been god-awful ever since he's joined the
Exactly.
Chiefs.
But the other 4 linemen have been good. Good enough for him to do what he's doing. Taylor, now the other tackle was not that good. So now you are down to 2 tackles that are not playing well. You do need them linemen. If you go back and watch the Super Bowls with Brady, please go back and watch them. He did not get hit like that. If you're getting hit like that, you're not going to make good throws. Brady was not a physical quarterback by
Exactly,
any
but
means.
here's the thing. You're blaming it fully on the offensive line.
No, I'm not.
Why are you not blaming it on Patrick Mahomes?
I said
Patrick
he played
Mahomes,
his worst game in
he
his
has,
career.
but you're not saying that he's took plenty of hits that he could have easily got rid of the football.
Listen,
he could have
what do
easily
you want me
taken
to
off.
say? He's played his worst game of his career.
He's played his worst.
Period.
He's played his worst game of his career. But are you going to sit up here and also say that Patrick Mahomes is a sole reason why they lost this game? He is one of the factors too. It's
I
not
said
just
it
the
was
line.
everybody. If you listen to the original thing I said offense, defense, coaching. I don't know who else I got to say. You want me to blame KC Wolf? Yeah, maybe he didn't mascot good enough. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Yes, it's on Mahomes. I'm not saying it's not. He had
Okay.
23 yards in the first half. I don't know what you want me to do. You want me to throw him on the sword? I'm not going to throw him on the sword. He won 3 Super Bowls in the first 7 years of his career.
No, I agree.
That's pretty incredible.
It is.
He has 2 NFL MVPs. That's pretty incredible. He's allowed to have a bad year. He took them to the Super Bowl, and he did not play well. You said it best. Yes, last episode, you said half of the guys that were in the playoffs had better years than Patrick Mahomes. Was that not exactly what you said? I believe you even said...
Who are you talking to, me or Lucas?
Lucas.
The audience doesn't know what you're saying.
Lucas, is that what you told me on the last podcast? We
Yeah.
can go rewind it. Lucas said that like 3 or 4 people in the playoffs played better than Mahomes, had better years than Mahomes. They did, and guess what? He took them back. So to sit up here and say that their window is closing...
I never said their window's closing. I'm asking you a question.
No, you said, do you think the dynasty's over?
I did ask that.
No, the dynasty is not over as long as the management team will make the right moves to protect Patrick Mahomes, number one, and get some receivers out there and keep revamping this defense.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the dynasty's over yet over one bad year. I mean, especially coming off of back-to-back Super Bowls. But they need to make some moves because if they show up to the Super Bowl like this next year, they're probably losing and probably to the same exact team. And then the Eagles are probably going to be back-to-back champions. Because they need to make some moves. I don't know what moves they're going to make. I don't know if it's going to be through the draft or through trading or through free agency, but they got to find a way to make something happen because this is not going to work out long term.
Look here, I'm actually going to agree with you guys. I don't believe the dynasty is over in Kansas City, but I believe that we're possibly on the verge of a new dynasty in Philadelphia. This Eagles team is good enough to be able to be back in the NFC Championship and back in the Super Bowl next year. I mean, look, injuries last year is what completely killed them from being in the Super Bowl, and 2 years ago, this team was pretty much just as good, if not better. Now they have Saquon Barkley, which obviously took them to new heights and new levels. Guys, Saquon Barkley wasn't even a factor in this game. Saquon Barkley is one of the main reasons why Philadelphia has gone on such a historic run this year throughout the regular season. And Kansas City, they're not no scrubs. This is only a 2-loss team. Technically only a 1-loss team because Week 18 they rest all their starters. So Kansas City's practically a 1-loss team and got their asses handed to them by the Philadelphia Eagles without Saquon Barkley playing his best game. Saquon Barkley had well under 100 yards. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith also had well under 100 yards. Jalen Hurts, I mean, he did a great job. We're going to get to Hurts later on in a second because I do want to talk about him. But I don't believe the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty is over, mainly because if you look at the lack of competition in the AFC West, it's subpar. If you look at the rest of these AFC teams, they're all unproven. None of them has beat the Kansas City Chiefs when it matters most outside of a Tom Brady and a Joe Burrow. But we don't even know if Joe Burrow is going to be back to that level next year. Tom Brady was the one actually calling the game, which is kind of crazy. The 2 Super Bowls that Mahomes lost, Brady was in attendance for both of them. One of them as the opposing quarterback and the other as the color broadcaster on Fox. So I don't believe it's over. But this Eagles team going into this game, all 3 of us admitted it. They were the better team. They were better offense, better defense. They practically have every better position than the Chiefs outside of maybe quarterback and starting corner. Philadelphia beats them in every category possible, maybe coaching too. But to sit up here and say the dynasty's officially over, I see a lot of people making that claim. I don't believe it is. Because at the end of the day, even though Mahomes lost the Super Bowl, you still can't bet against that man.
Are they hoping it's over because they're tired of seeing Kansas City? We talked about this on a Super Bowl special.
Yes.
They're the most hated franchise in sports right now.
We got to remember, whenever you...
So what these sports broadcasters and all these people are doing is, it's over, he's bum, he sucks, he's this, he's that. Listen, he won 2 Super Bowls back to back. To make a third one, I don't think people realize it's never been done. We ain't going to talk about your NFL championships because it's not the Super Bowl. It's never been done in football. Jordan. Look how great Jordan was. Did he win 3 in a row? I don't think he did. I think he won 2, skipped a year and won 2 more or something like that. Granted, he won 6. But all I'm saying is, Brady, as great as Brady was, they didn't win 3 Super Bowls in a row. So the people that want that are saying the dynasty's over, I'm going to say what Greeny said. I'm going to quote it again. Maybe stop watching football because you apparently don't know nothing. Most of them are probably Yinzers. That's probably the ones we're seeing, and they're probably like, "Oh, we got a chance now. Go out and sign Aaron Rodgers, and you're gonna be 5-12 or whatever this year."
Well, knowing Tomlin, he'll still find a way to find a winning season and disappoint him once it comes January. Lucas, do you have any final thoughts on that before we move on?
Don't sign Aaron Rodgers.
Don't sign Aaron Rodgers.
I got a better
I'm not gonna say what Deshaun Elliott said, but don't.
Yeah, don't say what Deshaun Elliott said. You're gonna get this podcast demonetized.
Sign Sam Darnold. He'll be a better fit in Pittsburgh.
I saw rumors of Matthew Stafford today, so I don't know. There's a bunch of different quarterbacks.
I saw Stafford. Not gonna.
You like Stafford?
I like Stafford, but I feel like it's just another. I'm blanking on the name.
Who's
now.
he going to throw to?
Huh?
Who's he going to throw to?
Same people Wilson threw to and got us 10 wins. We just have a better quarterback throwing the ball now.
So let me ask you an honest question. As a Steeler fan, I'm going to have to ask this. So you'd rather have Matthew Stafford throw to them same receivers to get you 10 wins in a first playoff smacking again?
No, but knowing Tomlin, we're not going to make any bigger moves than signing Stafford. If
Or
we even
you
sign
keep
Stafford.
Russell Wilson and actually build something around him and actually maybe get past that first game.
I'd rather decide Justin Fields and work on our receiving group than sign a quarterback, but knowing us, we're probably going to go after a veteran quarterback.
So just so Steeler fans know, I'm not a Steeler fan, obviously, but just so Steeler fans know.
You're going to turn a lot of them off if you keep talking, but go ahead.
But if you just sign Justin Fields, the Steelers will not have a winning season next year.
Why?
He
arguably played better than Wilson this year.
Okay, what was their record when he played?
Who?
They played their softest part of the schedule.
Fields?
Yes.
6-4.
Okay, but they played their softest part of the schedule. Am I correct?
I mean, I don't know. I would say,
They did not.
Yeah.
They played their softest part of their schedule. There's a reason he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's all I'm saying.
I still
And
personally.
it's between you two. This is between you two.
I still think developing him's the right option because we need to work on building something around him as a possible future rather than signing veterans that are only going to be here a couple years back and back and back. But
Do you know how the Steelers got screwed on quarterback situation? I'm going to say, and it pains people in Pittsburgh when I say it, but it's a god-awful truth. Ben keep taking those $100 million contracts and not trying to build the future. Push the Steelers back and back and back to the situation they're in now. Mahomes will do it in Kansas City if he doesn't take a less contract. The only quarterback recent history that's done that is Tom Brady. That's why Tom Brady has 7 Super Bowls. Nobody will catch him.
And he is
Because he was a smart enough businessman to figure out, hey, if I have good line, decent receivers, and a good defense, I can wear all the hardware. These other quarterbacks, they take these $100 million plus contracts, and they're putting their franchise behind the 8 ball per se because there's not enough money to sign bigger players. And the Chiefs, you look at their roster, I think there's like 4 or 5 guys on there. It's due to make like 50. I think Mahomes is due to make $60 million this year. You're gonna have to restructure that if you want to win.
That's true. I mean, look at Dak Prescott's contract. Look at Deshaun Watson's. Look at Kyler Murray's. Look at Justin Herbert's. Look
How
at
many
Daniel
championships
Jones.
did all them guys
Look at
got?
Geno Smith. 0.
There you go. I mean, and that's why I think the Steelers are set back because, to me, Justin Fields is not your franchise quarterback that's going to win you Super Bowls. You want to get a quarterback that's going to win you Super Bowls. Nothing against Justin Fields. I think he's an athletic player. I just don't think he's the one going to win you a Super Bowl. And that's what they all covet. They don't covet winning the division. They don't covet winning a playoff game or an AFC championship or NFC championship. They want to win the hardware. And the hardware is the Super Bowl. I just don't think Justin Fields is that guy.
See, I would go into this a little bit more in depth, but I don't want to spend too much time on the Steelers because I do want to get back to the actual Super Bowl itself. But I will say this just to this debate to end it off. I believe that Russell Wilson did a great time here in Pittsburgh, although some plays and some games we question his level of playing, whether or not age is catching up, whether or not injuries is catching up. At the end of the day, he was the one that put the Steelers in a better prime position to win and win now. Justin Fields, although he may not be the guy of the future, although he may not be that Super Bowl winning quarterback like you're alluding to, Dad, I do personally believe Justin Fields starting going into next year is the better decision because at the end of the day, he is the younger talent. There's a reason why the Steelers went and traded for him last year. Although that you're not making that push for the Super Bowl run next year or the year after, even the year after that, at least you have a young guy that you can build around and that you can eventually use as that bridge quarterback to get your eventual franchise guy. Because like you said, the Steelers are going to be probably going down to a full rebuild soon. And at this point, drafting a young quarterback or signing a young quarterback in free agency, that's just going to waste their prime years. That's just going to waste their developing years. I believe keeping Fields as that guy right now, just for these next couple seasons, get him on a cheaper contract because he didn't do anything in Chicago to prove why he should get a $60, $50 million contract like these other quarterbacks are. Justin Fields can at least win the Steelers some games. Unfortunately, the Steelers are going to be in that same position they're always in. First round exits or just miss the playoffs. But you would rather have that than the 4-12, 5-12, 6 and whatever record. If you have a young quarterback that you want to be your future guy, but waste him because you don't have the pieces around to win.
Do you know why they got Justin Fields? Either one of you?
To develop under Russell Wilson.
Cheap, bro. Hometown discount. He got both quarterbacks for like $2 or $3 million.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to.
I mean, they didn't go out and get a young guy because they wanted to develop him.
But you got to remember.
Let's call it what it is. They got him really cheap.
You got to remember, Justin Fields only got traded for a 6th round pick, and that was
Correct.
it. And then Russell Wilson came in on a $1.2 million contract,
Correct.
and the other $38.8 million was paid for by the Denver Broncos. So that pretty much equates to a half-eaten bag of Doritos and an apple, if you guys want to break it down in simpler terms.
So you're proving my point, right? They didn't go out and get a
I'm
young
not proving anybody's point. I'm simply stating the facts here.
Right, and the facts prove my point that they weren't trying
This
to develop
this is a debate between you two. I added my expertise.
But you're helping me.
simply-
Thank you. I'm clapping for you.
Well, I actually disagree with both of you. I have a different vision on it, but that's for a different topic.
What's your vision, real quick? Me and
What's
Lucas are inquiring minds want to know, right, Lucas?
My vision, one of you is for Justin Fields, one of you is for Russell Wilson. I'm for the quarterback of the future. Why are we worried about an Aaron Rodgers? Why are we worried about a Matthew Stafford or a Sam Darnold? In my opinion, go out there and get someone young. Go out there and get someone different. I know you guys are going to laugh at me when I say this, but there's a quarterback out there that I don't think a lot of people are talking about that I believe actually gives the Steelers a better chance at winning now. Not the Super Bowl, not the AFC Championship, not the AFC North Crown, but at least enough games to get back to the playoffs.
Who's that?
You guys are going to laugh at me when I say this.
You ready? You prepared?
Daniel Jones.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, Lord.
Daniel Jones. But again, we'll come back to this a different day.
We'll come back to this, but listen, I'm not saying when he brings up Matthew Stafford, we live in Pittsburgh. I work with all Steeler fans. You guys are around Steeler fans. Steeler fans think they have the team to win the Super Bowl now. That's why you want a Matthew Stafford. I could see it in your eyes. Your eyes lit up when you said Matthew Stafford. And then when, before his collapse, you would have said, oh man, Sam Darnold, man, he might take the Steelers to the promised land. Before his collapse, you might have said that.
I disagree.
But anyways,
I disagree.
The Steeler fans and the Pittsburgh media believe that the Steelers are Super Bowl ready now, which they are not. I'm not saying as a hater. I'm just saying they're not to where a Kansas City, a Buffalo. Heck, I'm even throwing Cincinnati in there, even as bad a year as they had at the beginning. But they would have made a run. That was the scariest team in the NFL for me, was the Cincinnati Bengals.
Because they were unpredictable.
Joe Burrow played out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
He played possessed towards the end of that season.
Most certainly did. I want to transition now back to the Super Bowl itself. We covered mostly the Kansas City Chiefs. We talked about the flaws. We talked about the negative sides of both offense and defense. I want to talk about some more positivity now. Like the new day, the power of positivity. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles here for a second. Offense did great. Defense did great. Lucas, I'm going to go to you on this one first. What and who stood out to you from the Philadelphia Eagles?
I mean, not that everybody didn't see this or anything, but I mean they scored 40 points. That's the most impressive thing. The thing I was shocked about the most is how irrelevant Saquon Barkley was. He didn't do much in this game. Kansas City locked him down. He was not able to get this game going much at all. He was able to get some good rushes here and there, but really I was more impressed with Jalen Hurts of all people. He had a really good game. The receivers, they had some really nice plays. Cooper DeJean, my boy, the guy that I forced you to listen to the song all the time and texted you whenever he got his pick six.
Stop sending me messages on Instagram when the Chiefs are on. What's wrong with you?
I didn't send you messages.
Yes, you
I was
did.
posting on my story. You responded to my story, which thank you for watching, by the way. It was a great post. No, but I mean, just overall, they played great. I mean, the defense was locking down all of the Chiefs. The offense just looked unstoppable at points, which I was concerned about how the offense was going to look because I didn't know if Jalen was going to be able to establish a passing game. I didn't know. I was concerned with that leading up to it. I think I said in the Super Bowl special, if they don't have a passing game, they'll lose. But it worked out great, and they won 40-22. So
I agree to a certain degree. Jalen Hurts played good, I don't know if I'd say they established a passing game. When you only throw for 220 yards, I don't know if that's establishing a big passing game. I mean, when you say that, I'm thinking 300, 350. But the difference was he outrushed Saquon Barkley. He had 72 yards to Barkley's 56. He outrushed him. He's the reason. And I know you said they scored 40 points. I'm not just trying to argue with you. Let's not forget, pick 6, there's 7. Another pick on the 14, there's 7. Another fumble inside the zone, there's 21 points. Did they really outscore them that much, or did the Chiefs kind of hand them 21 points? I mean, I'm not going to try to break it down like take away anything away from the Eagles, but I mean, the stats are the stats. I mean, I'm just looking at the line, 17 for 22, 221, and 2 touchdowns. Those are 2 late touchdowns, too. I believe their first couple touchdowns were rushing touchdowns by Hurts.
One was the touch push, yes.
Yes.
That was the opening one.
Hurts, 11 rushes, 72 yards. I apologize. It was 25 rushes for Saquon Barkley, 57 yards. And these are their receivers. Their top receiver had 4 catches for 69 yards. That's really not establishing a great passing game. Made some key throws. Listen, they won. At the end of the day, they won. I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm just saying, I think their defense is probably a very strong reason why they scored most of those points, too. I don't want to take away from the defense. I don't want to give all the credit to the Eagles' offense and say they scored 40 points, they beat the Chiefs. No, that defense beat the Chiefs for 21 of those 40 points. Not taken away from the offense by any means, because they still got to put it in the end zone. But I believe a good portion of that was on that defense as well.
See, here's what I'm going to say about this. The defense was astonishing in this game. The defense made key stops, great forced turnovers, and put the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in an uncomfortable situation, which is something that we as fans are not accustomed to seeing. I'm not going to sit up here and praise the offense too much, because this is not the same Philadelphia offense that we're used to seeing all year. Dominant on the run, dominant on the pass. But I do want to give credit where credit is due to Jalen Hurts. I believe Jalen Hurts is one of the sole reasons why they won this game. He simply served as field general in this game. He simply served as the leader of this team. They were able to spread the field, which is exactly what I was saying going into this past week. If they were able to do that, they were going to have a good chance of winning. Of course, I still pick the Chiefs because it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes. They've been there before. To beat a man, you got to beat the man. Well, guess what? They beat that man, and they are now the man. But that's besides the point. The Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts specifically in this game, keep in mind, he threw an interception early in the game too. Spags was pressuring him pretty rough early on in the game, and Hurts was making some pretty bad throws. But once Hurts started to settle into the game and become poised and become confident and become comfortable in the pocket, he was making great throws. He had that great connection with Dotson early in the game, which put him on the 1-yard line, allowed him to do a touch push into the end zone for Hurts' first rushing touchdown. We also saw the great connection to A.J. Brown downfield. Dallas Goedert was a pretty good threat as well. Although the receivers' numbers aren't exactly the greatest in terms of like other receiving numbers and other tight end numbers we saw this year, we can't sit up here and say that they were a non-factor. It was just Hurts' ability to distribute the football to the players that were open and the players that were necessary. It's not like he was feeding A.J. Brown or feeding Saquon Barkley or feeding Devontae Smith or Dotson or Goddard. He was simply getting the ball to the players that was open, making the right reads, and making the proper plays and making the proper throws. Keep in mind, Jalen Hurts is the same guy that was benched in the national championship for Alabama. Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time in my eyes, benched Jalen Hurts in favor of Tua. That eventually led him to transfer to Oklahoma, become a second-round pick, take over from Wentz and Foles years after they won their Super Bowl against Tom Brady, and then he has been an absolute tear ever since he got to the NFL. So Jalen Hurts is most certainly the player for Philadelphia that impressed me the most, but I'm not going to take away anything from this defense. This defense annihilated Kansas City, and without it, it would have been a much closer game. Kansas City, though, practically only scored 6 points in this game. Their other touchdowns did come in garbage time. So this was pretty much a 40-6 game, pure domination for the Philadelphia Eagles. But Jalen Hurts, he's good in my book. What a win for him.
Did you guys see the big headline from my game afterwards?
What was it?
Patrick Mahomes' dad gets into a fight with John Rocker.
I did see that. That's crazy.
And now John Rocker's threatening him on Instagram. On X, whatever it is. Twitter. Are you kidding me, dude? Grow up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I I was looking at stats and that came up, and I'm
No,
just
you're
like,
good.
you got to be kidding me.
And I'm actually looking at my notes here. I do want to add one more thing onto my take real quick if you guys don't mind. Vic Fangio going into this game was 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes. He absolutely lit it up. That completely takes away those 8 previous losses. Then this was his most dominant win yet as a defense coordinator. Huh?
Wasn't worried.
He wasn't worried. He had nothing to lose.
No, I said that last week. I said I wasn't worried.
Yeah. He had that nothing to lose mentality. Now, before we get into some other things talking about the Super Bowl here for a sec, I want to bring up an interesting point that I was thinking about earlier this week. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. When we take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs, what is the first thing we think of? We think of Patrick Mahomes. We think of how dominant he is, how great he is, how other quarterbacks, although they are great and although they have great teams and great supporting cast and possibly are better than the Chiefs on paper, they can't beat them. Lamar Jackson is yet to beat him in the playoffs. Josh Allen is 0-4. Although Joe Burrow beat him once in the AFC Championship, he is yet to get back to that level. Now that Jalen Hurts has done it, nearly done it twice, because keep in mind, some people say the Eagles should have won 2 years ago, but of course they were a couple bad plays away from winning that game. So Hurts pretty much is even now with Patrick Mahomes. He's got one up on him. Why can't these other quarterbacks do that? I believe the biggest headline and the biggest story going into next season, we should not be questioning Patrick Mahomes. We should not be questioning the Kansas City Chiefs. We should be questioning Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. That's what this Super Bowl... Hold on. That's what this Super Bowl comes down to. Jalen Hurts... Can you stop clapping? You're deafening the viewers. A lot of the listeners listen with headphones and AirPods at the gym. They don't need to be clapping in the background like a damn duck. Let me finish my take. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. When are you going to win the big game? When are you going to win when it matters most?
It's because when it comes
when
it matters most, they choke.
I'm not on you guys yet. I said, let me finish my take, then I'll pass the floor over to you guys. Damn. What's wrong with you guys today?
Maybe it's you.
Yeah,
maybe you're just rambling on.
Talking too much.
I did not interrupt either one of your takes this entire episode.
Do you need a hug?
I do need a hug, actually.
Lucas, hook him up.
I had a pretty bad day.
Right.
Well, I'm not hugging him.
All right, well, you ain't getting a hug, sorry.
He smells like piss. I'm not hugging him.
Oh, okay.
I'm just joking. You actually don't smell that bad. Nice fragrance, by the way.
Thank you.
Anyway, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson needs to win the big game when it counts. Thoughts?
Okay, here, let's get to it, Lucas. Why'd you interrupt him? Because I'm going to tell you why I interrupted you. Go ahead, Lucas. You first.
Because I could answer the question like 5 minutes ago.
Correct.
Just by whenever he said, why can't they make it because they choke?
Correct. That's his take. You know what my take is? I said it last episode, the window closed on a lot of them. We were giving you the answers. You just didn't want to hear it.
Again, I don't think it's unfair to still sit up here and say the window is closed, but the storyline...
But you're saying the storyline should be, why can't these players... Well, we should start questioning these other players
We should.
of why they can't beat Mahomes. We're giving you the answers. He said they're choking. I'm saying it's closing.
Okay, well, that's the
There's
thing
the
that we're going to
answers.
have to look at going into this next season. Because when we look at a Josh Allen, 0-4 in the playoffs. When we look at a Joe Burrow, yes, he's beaten the Kansas City Chiefs when it matters most. Yes, he is practically Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite outside of Jalen Hurts. Yes, the Cincinnati Bengals were ramrodded last year and had an awful defense. But Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are both in the MVP conversation. Patrick Mahomes is not. Yes, we can say that both of those quarterbacks had better seasons and better teams than the Kansas City Chiefs. But going into the next year, I don't believe saying the window is closed is the storyline. I believe the storyline should simply be like, is the window finally going to close? I'm still leaving it narrowly open. Me and you both agreed on that with Buffalo, Lucas. One more year. Let's see what Josh Allen can do. Same thing goes with Lamar Jackson. That was his first year with Derrick Henry. Now you have an established team. Go out there and get another receiver and make some big plays. And Joe Burrow. I mean, the defense with the storyline with the Bengals is the defense. We see Pratt has just requested a trade. They have a new defensive coordinator. They lost two players from their secondary already. How are they going to rebuild, and how are they going to compete? And more importantly, how is the matchup going to be up against these fellow AFC North teams? Pittsburgh, where are they going to be next year? You can never count them out. Cleveland, in my eyes, they're one solid quarterback away from being back in the playoffs. And Baltimore, I mean, they're up and down every single year, but there is no denying the athleticism that Lamar Jackson brings. Listen, these are all great regular season teams. Jalen Hurts has finally beaten Patrick Mahomes when it counts. He has finally taken that Superman cape off and thrown it in the paper shredder. Patrick Mahomes is no longer Superman. Patrick Mahomes is just a great quarterback now. It is unfair to say Patrick Mahomes is in his own tier. He's back down with these other great quarterbacks. But he's going to always be above Josh Allen. He's always going to be above Lamar Jackson. And although Joe Burrow beat him, he's always going to be above Joe Burrow. Because Burrow does not have an MVP. Joe Burrow does not have a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has one Super Bowl appearance where he got smacked by the Rams.
So wait a minute. The man's 3-2, won 2 Super Bowls last 2 years. And you're already saying that he's as good as the other players who have 1 Super Bowl and some have none?
How old are you?
Listen, time
How
out.
old are you?
And then
How old
listen,
are
I
you?
want to go to Lamar Jackson.
How
I'm
old
not
are you?
answering your dumb questions. Listen, Lamar Jackson. You bring up Lamar
I'm
Jackson.
21. How old are you?
Listen, you bring
How
up
old are you?
Lamar Jackson. You know how old I am. You
I
bring
do. I
up
went-
Lamar
I was the
Jackson. I'm
audience
not
now.
answering that. I don't need to answer that. But listen, you bring up Lamar Jackson. If they go out and get a receiver, Lucas, if they go out and get Chris Godwin, who's going to be a free agent.
Godwin ain't going anywhere, but go ahead.
But let me ask you this: if they go out and get a Godwin, do they throw to Godwin a lot, or does Lamar Jackson still run the ball? Come on, you watch football. What happens?
Lamar's running the ball.
Okay, so what's it matter about signing him? They're not going to go nowhere with signing a big quarterback.
See, this is where you're
We're
wrong.
big-
Lamar, see, this is where you're wrong. You need a receiver no matter what. Even if you're not going to the receiver, after all,
They
doesn't
had
the
one,
run game...
Hollywood Brown. How'd that work out?
Well, Hollywood, that's Hollywood Brown. You can't go from Chris Godwin to Hollywood Brown, Dad. Come on now. It's like going from a Steak and Shake to an Arby's, damn it. You can't go like that. That's a complete downgrade.
Just remember, Mahomes won a Super Bowl without a number one receiver. So I don't want to hear that you need a number one receiver
Are you alright
all
over
the
that?
time. I don't want to hear you need a number one. Okay, he didn't have a Chris Godwin last year when he won the Super Bowl.
What's your obsession with Chris Godwin all of a sudden?
I'm just saying.
Listen, Chris Godwin, last time I checked, no disrespect to him, great player, Super Bowl champion, he was always a number two. A number two behind Mike Evans. So
But
where are you
he's
going
the-
with this?
He's the one that's going to be a free agent. Who are they going to go out and get? Give me a name they're going to go out and get that's going to make them get to the Super
I
Bowl
never
because
said
of a receiver.
I never said they were going to get to the Super Bowl because of a receiver. I made a simple take saying Baltimore needs a wide receiver. Cincinnati
They
needs
needed
a
a running
defense.
back. What happened? They
John-
didn't use them.
They got him, but
They didn't use them.
And who does that fall on?
The coach,
The
Lamar.
coach, John Harbaugh. That
The
falls on
coach
John
and-
Harbaugh.
And Lamar.
How does it
Hey,
fall on
Lamar, guess what? Boom. You go like this. You hand the guy the ball.
Listen, I don't
You got
think
this
I don't
beast
think you
behind
quite
me,
understand
300
where I was coming.
pounds.
Listen, time out.
Run
Yeah,
to
you
the
had your
front.
time. You had your time. Listen, this is where I don't think you're understanding where I'm coming from. I'm simply questioning. I thought you would actually have my back here because I'm defending your Kansas City Chiefs who just got their asses handed to.
What is he
By the
defending him?
time out.
What episode is he on?
Time out. Sit back. First of all, I was actually on your side last week. That was Mr. Jack Dean and Lucas that was harassing your team. That's number one. Number two, when we look at the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they got their asses handed to by the Philadelphia Eagles. All I'm simply trying to say is, hey, you know what? Patrick Mahomes isn't the only one we should be questioning next year. So is Josh Allen. So is Joe Burrow. So is Lamar Jackson. That's all I'm simply trying to say because those three quarterbacks are unproven in that aspect. Patrick Mahomes has the rings and the Super Bowl MVP. You want to know who else does now? Jalen Hurts. I think it's now time, because if you would have let me finish, this is where I was going with this. I think it's now time we start debating whether or not Jalen Hurts should be in that same conversation as Allen, Lamar, and Burrow. Like I said before, Mahomes is still light years ahead of him. Now it's time for Hurts to be in that conversation.
The only reason why I questioned you, Lucas, back me up here. Did he say he's not that he's average like the rest of them? Was that
I
his
did not
words?
say that. That is not what I said.
What did he say, Lucas? Please
I
answer.
will. I'll remind you what
Can
I
you
said.
stop interrupting and let Lucas
This
talk?
is not your
please?
show, first of all. This
Let
is what this is
Lucas
not your show.
talk.
This is not your show. This is what I said. I said that Patrick Mahomes' cape, his Superman cape, has been ripped off and
You ain't
thrown
gonna
in
let
the
him
paper
answer, son.
shredder. I'm
Move
not going
on
to let
to
him
the next
answer.
Move on to the next one. That's ignorant to not let Lucas
Go
talk.
ahead, Lucas.
You said that you put him back on the tier with everyone else.
That is
but
not what I
but-
said.
But
That
he's
is not
still
what I said.
ahead of them all.
Correct.
But you
He's
took
still
him off
ahead
his
of
own
them all.
tier.
You put him on that tier, bud. You said it, not
He's
us.
on the same tier, but he's still ranked above them. Listen, when you put a different quarterback on a different tier, they have more accomplishments. Patrick Mahomes has more accomplishments than all these guys. But didn't he not just get his ass kicked in 2 different Super Bowls? Listen, Joe Montana lost no Super Bowls. 4-0, never threw an interception. Mahomes just threw 2 this past
Trent
Sunday.
Dilfer was 1-0. So what are you trying to tell me? That because they're 1-0
Did
in
Trent
the Super Bowl?
Dilfer throw an interception in the Super Bowl?
Trent
the answer
Dilfer
is yes.
barely even played in the Super Bowl.
My point exactly.
Don't hit me with stats because you don't know the ones that I know.
I just told you a stat.
I was alive a lot longer than
Trent
you.
Dilfer threw an interception.
Okay, so what's that telling me?
Patrick Mahomes
He's
threw
1-0
2
in the
and
Super
fumbled
Bowl.
and got 6 sack times.
You're saying somebody's 4-0. You can't just give the quarterback.
Listen, I know
the
you're
win.
upset your Chiefs lost the Super
I'm not
Bowl, but you're
upset.
taking it out on the wrong person. You're taking it out on the one person that defended the Chiefs most of this time throughout the playoffs. You're taking it out on the one person that brought up officiating and said that was not an issue.
Am I
Listen, the
taking
Chiefs
it out
losing
on
the
you?
Super Bowl actually starts to raise the questions whether or not some of these games were handed to them. I didn't bring that up at all though because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that conspiracy. Maybe 2 games. I said Atlanta, Cincinnati. Yeah, that game should have been those games, not the Chiefs. But yeah, no. Why are we not talking about officiating? Officiating in this game was clean on both sides of my eyes. But That's something that could be brought up, but guess what? I didn't even bother bringing it up because I know that is completely asinine to the take that we are currently displaying for the viewers of two Jagoffs. At the end of the day, Dad, you got to realize this. Patrick Mahomes has been figured out. There is now a way to contain him. There is now a way to get to him. The offensive line isn't the sole reason why. It's a contributing factor. So is Travis Kelce. So is Isaiah Pacheco. So is Kareem Hunt. So is Andy Reid. So is that defense. Where was Nick Bolton? Where was Chris Jones? Where was Trent McDuffie? Where were those players at? Why are we not talking about those players? Those players were absent. They were absent. Like a skipper in high school. Absent. In the halls. Down the block. In the parking
lot.
lots.
Your Cardinals on the beach already.
They were probably in Cancun, Dad. They were partying in Puerto Rico. I don't know where the hell they were, but they were not present on the field on Sunday. You want to know who was present on the field on Sunday? Jalen Hurts was. Jalen Carter was. Cooper DeJean was. Nick Sirianni was.
And yet you didn't pick them.
You didn't either, so where are you going with this?
Yeah, yet you didn't pick them, but you're blazing it up like you did. The man over here that's ready to talk picked the Super Bowl
Don't
winner.
act like you didn't pick them either.
Lucas, talk.
No. Don't act like I didn't play moderator.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours, Lucas.
The floor will be Lucas.
We should listen to you because you were right. We were wrong. Go ahead.
I'm just sitting back and enjoying the arguments going on. There's some serious tension going on right now.
There is some serious tension, which is crazy because he's the one that picked the Chiefs and so did I.
The tension is, and you called it out, he's minimizing his words after he says what he says. Then he minimizes.
Minimizes? Who the hell's minimizing words?
You said that he is just like the rest of the other players.
That is not
then
what I said.
Then you change your words to loop around to create your narrative.
Tier,
but we're going to move past that. Let's move past this because you don't want to admit you're wrong. Go ahead.
I don't want to admit I'm wrong because I'm not wrong in this case scenario. If you would actually let me finish making my damn point and stop clapping over there like a damn seal, maybe I would actually get my point across.
The window closed. Next year when we're on here and they're out of the playoffs or they early exit, I'm going to open that window that's right there behind Lucas. I'm going to shut it really hard in the listeners' ears, and then I'm going to look at you and say the window officially closed.
See, having this conversation with you makes me want to open that window and jump out the damn thing. That's what really is going on right now.
Well, as unathletic as you are sometimes, you will probably be at the ER.
I don't know why you're laughing over there.
Did he fall down the steps in the thunderstorm?
that is not a point that should be brought up right now.
Did you? Don't tell me you did.
I don't know where you're going with this. Take's over.
If you fell out the window, you'll be at the ER.
I'm not talking about the damn window anymore. We're not talking about the window. All right, so I think we're all in agreement here, though. Overall, Jalen Hurts is probably the player that stood out the most for the Philadelphia Eagles. Are we all on that same page, or is there other disagreements? Because we both, Dad, me and you both mentioned the defense. Lucas, you mentioned Cooper DeJean as well with that interception, that pick six. Was there any other, I guess, players from Philadelphia's standpoint? Because we talked a lot about the Chiefs in this episode. Back over to the Eagles side of things, because after all, they are the Super Bowl champions. They won their second in franchise history. What else stood out to you guys?
I mean, I agree with you. I think Hurts was the player that stood out the most.
You know, it didn't stand out? Kendrick Lamar. You know why? Because I didn't even watch it.
We're going to get to that in a second, and you might not like what I'm going to say about that. But I want to say this one last... I just want to end this entire conversation off with my last take. We talked about offense, we talked about defense. I feel like it's unfair to talk about special teams because poor Butker could barely even see the field. The Chiefs couldn't even get him into the red zone. They didn't even get into their own territory until the third quarter. So I'm going to ask you guys this. The fourth phase of football, in my opinion, one of the most important phases is coaching. Did Andy Reid get out-coached, or did the Chiefs get outplayed? Lucas, you're first. Since we've been both going back and forth all episode.
I mean...
Yeah, let him talk.
In a way, I mean...
He is.
I mean, he got out-coached. He didn't make great calls, but I think it was more the team just got outplayed. I mean, there wasn't really much... I mean, he's been great. It's hard to say he got out-coached whenever he's been coaching pretty good the whole season. Mm-hmm. This was Mahomes' worst game. This was the offensive lineman's worst game. This was Travis Kelce's probably worst game. Everyone fell apart. So as the coach, it's your job to get them prepared for the biggest game of their careers. You have to get them ready for this game. And he didn't. They went to the locker room, and nothing really changed after coming out. Yeah, they scored the 2 touchdowns at the end of the game. Didn't help them. They already lost at that point. The Gatorade dump already happened. So, yes, he got out-coached, but whenever your players fall apart and they're just not helping themselves and they're actually hurting themselves more, it's hard to be a great coach in that opportunity. Because he was a great coach the rest of the season, But if your players aren't going to play, you're not on the field. You're staying on the sidelines. You're just calling the plays.
Both.
Oh, okay. Why?
They got outplayed, obviously. They got beat. And they got outcoached. Didn't make any halftime adjustments to come out and get his team ready. Period. I'm not going to no big analogy. They got beat. They got outplayed and they got outcoached.
I lean more towards outplayed, but I kind of agree with you what you were saying, Dad, with the whole outcoaching thing too. It's not like Nick Sirianni came out with this extraordinary game plan that the Kansas City Chiefs were unexpecting, and they came out guns a-blazing on offense. No, the Philadelphia Eagles actually played relatively conservative. They played a pretty easy game plan. It's just they got way too far ahead, way too quickly. It was too late for the Chiefs. Like I said, it was practically a 40-6 game. The last 2 touchdowns and scores from the Kansas City Chiefs came in garbage time. So that's number one. Number two, when we talk about getting outplayed, Philadelphia was just pure dominant on both sides of the ball. And again, they weren't even using the players we were fully expecting them to use to get to that result. Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't say he put the team on his back, but he did a great job at orchestrating the symphony. That's what he did. Great job orchestrating it. Patrick Mahomes was simply playing conductor for the Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles, they were the whole show. I want to end off now moving over to the halftime show. Dad, you briefly mentioned it. Kendrick Lamar, what were your guys' thoughts on it?
I mean, as someone, I wouldn't say I like Kendrick Lamar. There's a couple songs I listen to. It's like one of those artists for me.
Fair.
It wasn't bad if he was just singing it to a crowd of like a couple hundred people. But he failed to get the energy really going in the building. I'm gonna be honest, he might be a good singer, but you couldn't really understand what he was saying half the time, to be honest. He was kind of talking a little bit too low and maybe a little bit too fast at the same time. And a lot of the time the crowd was silent. I mean, there's a lot of videos. You can go find them right now. You can open up Instagram. Probably one of the first things you see about the halftime shows, people just sitting there. Because a lot of people didn't know him. The energy wasn't there. I mean, it was cool. Brought out Uncle Sam. But it wasn't great. I wouldn't put it in my top 5 halftime shows.
Who do you think got more cheers, Kendrick Lamar or Trump? When Trump come out. I'm serious.
Probably Trump.
Probably Trump.
Well, actually, both him and Taylor were booed most of the time, but I get what you're saying.
Listen, I didn't watch the halftime show. I was messing with my nephews. I was going A minor every time he would say something. I was in and out of the room. I didn't watch the show, nothing against him. I actually like some of his music. At the end of the day, I'm there to watch football. I'm not there to watch a halftime show. I'm not one of them people that sit there and say, shh, 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 shh. The Super Bowl commercial's on. I could give 2 craps about a Super Bowl commercial.
I can't believe that they let him play that song.
And I could give 2 craps about a halftime show. You know why? Because I'm watching football. I'm there.
Yeah, but the halftime show is a big part of the game.
Listen, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Listen, I had one of the greatest bands in the South Egg Little Green Machine. You know that. You go to school there. Historically, been one of the greatest bands in Western Pennsylvania. They're up there. They've always won awards. They're just great. We used to listen at halftime. With that being said, we still played football. You're there to play football. I'm there to watch football. I'm not there to watch a halftime show. I'm not there to watch a Super Bowl commercial. I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but they told me to turn up the volume during a Super Bowl commercial and then say, can you turn it down when the broadcaster on? I'm looking like, you're not invited next year. And you'll know who you are next year when you ain't invited to a Super Bowl party. Because I'm not turning down a football game and turning up a commercial. You out of your damn mind.
Well, I agree with you on that, but I'm actually going to say this. This was actually one of the most underrated halftime shows of all time. I was coming into this not really caring about Kendrick Lamar, not really caring about his music. The thing that people are failing to realize, this wasn't a performance. At the end of the day, music is an art. And I'm actually going to go more in-depth on this on my radio show, The Austin Cairns Show later, to talk about more of the political and the sociological side of things on what exactly, the message that Kendrick Lamar was actually trying to portray. But, I mean, there was the simple little signs. It wasn't just about dissing Drake. It wasn't just about making music and singing. The reason why so many people in the audience, like Lucas said, didn't look like they were into it or really cared was because of the message that he was trying to send. I mean, are we going to forget about Samuel L. Jackson dressing up as Uncle Sam? What about Serena Williams being there? What about SZA being there? Listen, it wasn't just a performance. If we're rating this based on his actual performance and the music itself, yeah, it's not nowhere near as good as a Michael Jackson or a Bruno Mars or a Coldplay or Maroon 5. But to sit up here and say it's a bad halftime show and it made no sense, clearly some people has not ever read a book or has ever paid attention to class, because there was plenty plenty of symbolism in here. Here, I'll name a couple for you guys. The Squid Game stage that they had. You want to know what the Squid Game stage actually represented? It symbolized the rich exploiting the poor. That was a big message he was trying to send in that halftime show. Are we going to forget the dancers dressed up as the American flag? When have you ever seen a performance in the Super Bowl, let alone any sports, where the dancers are showcasing the American flag? Outside of the national anthem, we don't ever see that. That was showing patriotism. The prison yard stage. This was a reminder of mass incarnation about black performers. There's a lot of African Americans that were disrespected in sports. Of course, at one point in time, the NFL was segregated. There was a lot of those messages shown within the performance itself. I'm going to go more in detail on this because I don't want to make this too political here on this show. I'm going to go in more depth on this later on. But there were so many other shots and so many other warnings. Even at the end, I'll read this one. Rewatch and pay attention. This was a wake-up call. Not just a way of ending the show and transitioning into his next song. This was a way of saying, hey, the President of the United States is here tonight. All these celebrities and A-list level talent are here tonight. Plenty of other athletes across other major sports are here. And so many fans across the world. People from blue-collar workers all the way up to the richest of rich, down to the poorest of poorest. They're either in attendance or watching this game around the world. Kendrick Lamar was simply trying to send a message. And as someone who does not care about his music, or does not care about the Kendrick versus Drake beef at all, the message was clear. I caught on to it. And I believe anybody who did not understand what the halftime show was or really cared for it or was watching it to expect a performance. Listen, if you're watching that show to expect a great performance and to get up and start dancing in the living room, I'm sorry, that's not the halftime show for you. But if you want a clear, concise message on what he was trying to say, at the end of the day, this is a form of art, not just a form of entertainment. And that was beautiful. A beautiful, beautiful work of art by Kendrick Lamar. The mics were bad. I'm not going to lie. The production side of things was bad. I'm not going to blame that on Kendrick. I'm going to blame that on Apple Music because they're the ones that were sponsoring the halftime show. I didn't really like
Maybe they needed Drake beats.
I just don't know. I don't really Drake beats, yeah. I don't really get what they were doing with that whole side of things. I'm someone who studies a lot of production stuff at Point Park right now. And a lot of the camera angles, a lot of the takes, a lot of the B-roll they were using, I didn't really understand it or agree with it. But I'm not going to disrespect Kendrick Lamar. Now, if we're going to talk about performance, yeah, this is nowhere near as good as Rihanna or Usher or Dre or Shakira from the last couple years. Better than The Weeknd. I will say that. It was better than The Weeknd. But Kendrick Lamar had a beautiful message in his performance. And it wasn't a call to one side. It was a call to America as a whole. And I was very impressed by him. I was very impressed with the patriotism that was showcased. And I was very impressed with him not taking shots, but bringing notice to some groups and some people that go unnoticed.
Well, now I actually feel bad I didn't watch it. With all that being said, but
go back and watch it. He genuinely.
I seriously didn't watch it for the simple fact that that's my time to unwind.
I get it.
I mean, I was stressed out. I mean, Lucas, I was ready to block you on Instagram. I mean, I honestly was when he started sending me texts, and I love the kid to death. But I almost blocked him at one point, and I almost shut my phone off 4 different times. Almost smashed my phone. God bless the young lady who was sitting beside me. I'm not going to throw her under the bus. She was cheering for the Eagles. It was driving me insane. Yeah, I had a lot going on, personally. And I'm sorry I missed that message because I'm glad that he did address some of those issues that are out in the real world. And, you know, I get hung up on football like most Americans do. And if he did send some messages, I will go back and watch it. And I'll comment the next time I'm on the show because I can't comment on something I didn't see. But, I mean, if he was sending a message, God bless him for that. I mean, there's a lot that needed to be said in this world. There's a lot of negative that needs to be turned into a positive. And God bless him. And look, I'm going to clap for him. If that's what he did, I believe what you're telling me. I mean, good for him. I mean, and the thing is like you said, if you want to watch, and I brought it up on where I was going with the South End Lion thing, yeah, they were great performers. We listened to them from the locker room because they were great performers. If that's what you went for, a great performance, and he was putting on a message, that's totally different than performing songs. I mean, I want to say anybody can sing songs, but anybody can sing their songs, but if they're actually telling a story in their song, that's bigger than anything. I mean, like, you see, like, on America Got Talent, when they have these, you know what I'm talking about, where they're putting on a show with, like, these lights and stuff like that, but they're telling a story. That's a stronger message. If that's what he was doing, God bless him.
It was.
I mean, and I will go back and watch it. You know what I mean? Now that I'm not angry over the Super Bowl, I mean, I'm still angry, but...
Of course you are. I could tell you took it out on me this episode. But, no, the message that Kendrick Lamar...
Throwing out a window next episode.
What's with you in this window? There's actually 2 windows in this room, you know.
Which one do you want to fly out of?
Fly, Eagles, fly. That's all I'm going to say. I'll fly, Eagles,
You're
fly.
going to be saying that on the way out, hoping that your arms make you fly.
I'll be
that'd
fly.
that'd be a great social media post.
It would be a great social
wanna do
media
that?
post. One that's
That'd
going
be
to be delayed and not uploaded until midnight.
No,
Yeah, I'm taking shots
Is
at
that
him.
a shot at you?
That is a shot
I'm
at him.
gonna throw you out the window.
Listen, you can throw them out that one. We'll get on and bring them back up, and I'll throw them out that one.
That sounds great.
Yeah, who's going to film?
Huh?
Who's going to be the king?
I'll be
I
Jackson
can film when he's throwing you, and he can film when I'm throwing you.
Yeah.
We got to work that. Worst case scenario, Jack, if you're out there, we need you to film him getting tossed out windows.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm getting thrown out of windows next episode. But no, one last thing I would like to add on about the Kendrick thing, too. It wasn't fully on that. I mean, the whole second half of that performance was totally shots at Drake. I mean, the fact that he brought...
She smiling at the camera.
He smiled at the camera, he waved and said, "Hey, Drake," and he brought 2 of Drake's exes on stage for that performance. Serena Williams and SZA both were dancing and crip walking to the diss track about him. That is the most disrespectful thing that I have ever seen. But kudos to Kendrick for it, man. If you're Drake, we gotta check up on him. If anyone has any contact with him, please check up on him.
Drake
Yeah,
chose
let me
the wrong
send him
guy
a
to start.
text real quick.
Yeah, send him a text.
Let me
then.
send him a text, see how he's holding up.
Drake chose the wrong person to have beef with.
Yeah. Oh my
Why,
goodness.
where's he from? Is he from Compton, too?
Kendrick's from Compton.
Kendrick's from Compton. I'd be more worried about Kendrick.
Yeah, Drake's from Toronto.
Oh, gosh. That's soft to Toronto compared to Compton. That's like saying I'm from Oakdale and then McKees Rocks. Come on. There ain't no rough stuff going on in Toronto. It's the cleanest streets around. You ever been to Toronto?
I have not.
They got clean streets. I'm telling you, they got street sweepers out. Me and my wife went there when I proposed to her. They had like 9 street sweepers out. They just cleaned the sidewalks. They got people out there blowing the sidewalks off. Street sweepers, beautiful city. You got to go to it. Hockey Hall of Fame, very, very entertaining to go to.
Yeah, I plan on going there. That's on my bucket list. I mean, the Raptors, the Blue Jays, they got some. It's Maple Leafs, historic.
But where I'm going with this is it's not known for a tough city. Never heard anybody say, "I'm from the mean streets of Toronto." Say that in Compton, see what happens to you.
I don't know. All I know is the fact that he brought 2 of his exes out there. That's crazy.
Hey, Drake.
Hey, Jake.
Maybe sending a message.
he was.
Message received.
The best part about the performance too, I liked it how he was teasing the song most of the time because we didn't know if he was gonna play the song or not. He was teasing it, and the dancer was teasing it, and then he finally did it, and then that's when it popped up. And I will say the crowd was into it when that song played. They were really into it. Everyone screamed A minor.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. Whenever I was at a house watching it, like a small party, it was just 4 of us. I'm not gonna say whose house I was at out of their respect, but shout out to them. They actually listened to our radio show on rewatch while eating breakfast. They listened to our annoying voices while eating breakfast.
How'd they watch it on rewatch?
My dad recorded it inside.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say it's a radio show. How did they go back?
Yeah, no, they watched it while eating breakfast. I don't know how they got through that whole thing, but they listened to us.
That's awesome.
But I had to explain to them what the song meant during the second half and who the people dancing were.
Did you catch Serena Williams at the time or no? You caught it? Not many people caught that. I was surprised. I was like, that's Serena Williams?
Yeah, there's some parts of the song that I had to explain them that I'm not going to say on here because we will get demonetized even though we're not monetized.
Yeah, although Kendrick's
But,
choice of words isn't exactly, I guess, the most pleasant to certain kinds of people. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll go more in depth later on tonight. But the message that was being conveyed and the way that he took it and the way that he approached it, I mean, I was just impressed. And this is coming from a guy who didn't have a single Kendrick song in my playlist and now having maybe 3 or 4. So kudos to Kendrick Lamar. He made me a fan. I've been singing "They Not Like Us" all week long. I was in class earlier going "They Not Like Us," and the girl Bree who was sitting next to me, she was like, "Austin, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm singing Kendrick." She's like, "You said you hated him last week." I was like, "Hey, everyone has to change. Kendrick impressed me. He's now on my playlist."
Yeah.
Drake, I can still confidently say I don't have a single Drake song.
Yeah, whenever he kept teasing the song too, I was like, yeah, no, he's not gonna be able to play that. And then he started playing it literally 3 seconds later. I'm like, all right, never mind.
Here, I just googled how Drake took the halftime show. It says Entertainment Tonight suggested Drake unfazed attitude is all a facade. At the halftime show actually left him very angry.
Well, obviously,
I mean, obviously would make you angry. I mean, did you hear what they said, Drake? I mean, you got to come out and respond, man. Like, you got to sell $1 million song about him.
Writing an article.
I mean, or you got to fight him in a ring, something.
Writing writing an article that Drake is most likely mad is like saying that there's sand at the beach. Who would have guessed?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
get us an actual answer, Mr. Article Maker, producer,
yeah, I mean,
Mr. Entertainment, or whatever you said that
it
article.
was Entertainment Tonight.
Entertainment Tonight. Yeah, go get us an
Maybe
actual article.
that was the G-rated version. I'm sure if you went on there, you could probably find what it really said.
See, listen,
Go on, X.
as great as your idea was about having a boxing match with those two, I kind of like the show Kendrick put on slightly more. Now that Kendrick has done that, it's Drake's turn to respond, and then we can maybe get to the boxing
Listen, now
match.
knowing that Drake's from Toronto,
Yeah, no one.
I don't know if he wants that smoke from Kendrick Lamar.
No one wants to see Jake Paul versus Logan Paul. Get Kendrick versus Drake.
That's like me fighting Tyson. I'm going to get my ass beat. Kendrick
Well,
Lamar will whoop him up.
Hey, if you pay him like Jake Paul, then you might have a chance.
No. I'm still getting beat up. I think Drake gets knocked out. Left hand, he ain't going to use his right. Kendrick Lamar ain't even use his right.
Well,
I've never seen him box before, but I'm betting on that one.
Listen, if Kendrick Lamar and Drake gets into a boxing match, Kendrick's gonna go wah 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 wah, just like the song.
And then after he hits him,
I'm putting my life savings on
and then after he's on the ground, he's going to say, I hear you like I'm young.
Get the cell block one. And then everyone around him's gonna go A minor.
I know I am.
Wow, I feel like we are dissing Drake more than we were dissing the Chiefs in this episode.
Pretty much.
For good reason, though.
I mean,
Completely warranted.
you put it out there. I mean, you got to expect it to come back to you.
What an episode this was. Wow.
Hey, what me and your mother always tell you?
What?
Do you remember we always tell you when you go out with your buddies?
I do not.
Don't be an idiot.
Well, that.
Don't do nothing to embarrass me.
Oh.
That is a line, and don't be an asshole. That's the other one. Sorry I said that, but that's the two things we tell them all the time. So guess what, Drake? Don't do nothing to embarrass yourself. How about that?
He already did. He allowed
And the
two of
Chiefs,
his-
guess what? They embarrass shit out of themselves.
I don't know what's more embarrassing, the fact that Kendrick got two of Drake's exes and played the diss track on the grandest stage for millions upon millions to see, or the fact that Mahomes got sacked 6 times, threw 2 picks, and a fumble. I would actually say it's Drake was more embarrassing, because Mahomes at least has the resume to back it up.
Yeah, he can turn to his rings.
He can turn to his rings. Look at what is Drake going to turn? He can't turn to any rings. The exes are on stage. So who does he turn into?
I don't know. He's supposed to drop a new album. Maybe he's turning into that. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, hopefully he's not using the same Disney Channel tunes he's been using in the past. But we'll just get to that. It's a different topic for a different day. Guys, do you have any final words on this Super Bowl overall? I mean, like, we look back at this past season, the Kansas City Chiefs were a team that many believe should not have been here, but they overcame all the obstacles. They got to the promised land, and then they got beat by the Philadelphia Eagles, who a lot of people overlooked, although they're statistically the best team in the NFL for a reason. Now going in the next season, what are your guys' expectations just overall? Now that the NFL season is officially over, what's your opinion on this NFL season, and what are you looking forward to next? You don't have to go into like anything specific or any details, just an overall generalized statement. What did you think of this past season to recap the NFL, and what are you looking for next year?
Well, keeping about the 2 Super Bowl teams, I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to get too in detail until the season actually comes up. I'm excited to see if the Chiefs can come back from this loss, and I'm excited to see if the Eagles are going to stand tall and make another run for it.
Excitement and very disappointed. Excitement because I would have never thought they would have finished 15-2, being my Chiefs. If we would have stood here at the beginning of the season, I said they were a good football team. They were not a great football team. To go 15-2 and win the AFC West, and then to turn around and win the AFC Championship and make a chance at a three-peat was phenomenal as a Chiefs fan. As a football fan, I wanted to see history being made. And that's where my disappointment comes from. Not so much being a Chiefs fan. I like being part of history. That's the thing that was driving me crazy the most. And Nate Burles said it best when he said,
Shout out to Nate.
Be part of history. This is history in the making. I wanted to be part of that history. Like, you guys are too young to remember this. Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds.
Oh, don't get me started, Mark McGuire.
That was history in the making. It was so enjoyable. My wife, who does not like baseball that much, we would rush home to see if Sammy Sosa got a home run, to see if Barry Bonds got a home run, to see if Mark McGuire, what they did. And I could care less about any of the 3 teams that they played for. It was just history in the making. Be part of history, because it may not happen in your lifetime. Some things may not happen. And that's where my disappointment mostly comes from, is because I wanted to see history. I love seeing records being broken. I love seeing new superstars get formed, like Jalen Hurts. You know, hopefully he makes a run and does some stuff. That's all excitable stuff as a fan, to watch that kind of stuff being made. That's where my disappointment comes from. Of course, yeah, they're my team. But listen, I've been in fights before. You get knocked down, you get back up, or you lay down. That's the difference. You know what I mean? So,
look, my overall opinions on this season was shocking to say the least. We saw lots of history being made this year. Josh Allen has won his first MVP. He has solidified himself now as one of the greater quarterbacks in the NFL. That's something we have to take in the conversation, because we look at the Lamar Jacksons of the world, we look at the Patrick Mahomes of the world. Now we can confidently say we're looking at the Jalen Hurtses of the world. There's plenty of quarterback competition to go around the league. And my big excitement going into next year is which one of these younger quarterbacks are finally going to take the stage. What are we going to see out of Bryce Young? What are we going to see out of C.J. Stroud? What are we going to see out of Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels? These are guys that I'm very much looking forward to seeing. And what about the quarterbacks that are in question? What's Matthew Stafford's future hold? What's Geno Smith's future hold? What's Kyler Murray's future holds? What Aaron Rodgers' future holds? These are guys that have been questioned for years, and their time is finally starting to come up. Dak Prescott, what is he going to do coming back from injury? Daniel Jones, where's he going to go? Where's Justin Fields going to go? Is Baker Mayfield going to be the same guy? Is Sam Darnold's game going to translate from Minnesota to whatever team he signs with? How's J.J. McCarthy going to debut and compete with other rookies from this past season? And what about the rookies that's coming into the NFL this year, like a Shedeur Sanders or like a Cam Ward? I'm very excited to see this next upcoming season. There's so many storylines, so many great conversations. The draft is going to be excellent. Same with the free agent market, which we're all three going to cover here on 2 Jagoffs extensively when that time comes. But until then, great football season. Lucas, Dad, I know we weren't on every episode this year. There's only one I had to do by myself, surprisingly. But at least one of you guys were on every episode, if not both. So thank you both so much for your commitment and time this year. We'll definitely be doing this again up next year.
and listen, real quick, I think we need to do just an episode, sports, non-sports related, the three of us.
Okay.
And not just hold it to where we're all three on football-wise. I know I'm not a big basketball guy. Same with you, Lucas. I don't think you're a big basketball guy.
That's me.
I think there's some content in Pittsburgh that we probably should address, whether it be restaurants and some other stuff that I'd like to dive into on this show.
Okay.
But with that being said, I don't know what the listeners heard last Super Bowl special. There was a bet made, and I'm a man of my word. And I want to explain to you guys about the bets that I've made for this Super Bowl. There's a guy at work named Vern Brooks who was messing with me about the Steelers and the Chiefs, saying that the Chiefs get all the calls. So Vern, good friend of mine, goes out and buys on Amazon a referee shirt and puts a Kansas City logo taped on it.
That's crazy.
And was messing with me, and everybody got a good laugh. And I'm a good sport. I mess with people, like I said to you last episode. And I bet them on the Super Bowl. If this may have been the dumbest bet I've ever had in my eyes, thinking about it today, as of Tuesday, if the Chiefs would have lost, I was to wear this referee shirt at work for 8 hours. If the Chiefs win, he wears the shirt for 8 hours. Where does he lose in this bet?
He doesn't.
He does not lose in this bet because
You're better off cutting off armholes in a garbage bag.
he's not a Chiefs fan. So I honored my bet on Tuesday, and all the guys at work, everybody kept coming up to me, said size 9, size 12, Foot Locker. I don't know if you caught the reference.
I caught the reference.
But, so I honored that bet for 8 hours, and I took a shit ton of harassment on Tuesday.
Warranted harassment, by the way.
Correct. I give it out, so I expect it back. And I was a trooper. I put it on, and it actually made me look like I was enormous because I put it on over a thing. It showed my arm, definition of my arm. It was great. But anyways, with that being said, we had another bet. The bet was what? Do you remember, Lucas? Chiefs, Eagles.
It was about the shirts.
Well, here, I'm going to present you with my losing bet. I used a Houston Texans t-shirt to honor my bet. I lost. The bet was if the Eagles win, I would buy him a Houston Texans shirt. Austin wanted to get me a jersey. Listen, I ain't buying a jersey.
I was trying to see your stuff.
If the Chiefs would have won, you would have got me a Southend shirt. I hope you still honor that bet and go give me a Southend shirt. Anyways, I'm just saying.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, hey, none of our bets came to fruition this year, Lucas.
Yeah,
We had several and they all failed.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not getting jerseys. But hey, you got a Texan shirt.
I'll take it.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
I got a hoodie at home. It's nice.
And now you guys can wear it out together, and you guys can be losers together. Good job.
Well, Dad, I'm glad you're a man of your word, and I'm glad you're honoring the bet. But, yeah, this upcoming NFL season is going to be great. And we're most certainly going to do an episode where we just do topics of conversation, just kind of talk about Pittsburgh sports.
I've been asking for it for a year.
I know, we're going to do it. Maybe we'll do it in the coming weeks.
Well, maybe I'll bully him into it, Lucas, for you. How about that?
That'd be great.
All right, well, since there's no more final words from either one of you two, I do want to make a couple of quick announcements here for the audience and for the fans of Two Jagoffs. Number one, this Sunday, we have the biggest guest in Two Jagoffs history joining the show. I'm not going to name names. All I'm going to say is this. A Pittsburgh legend will be joining Two Jagoffs this Sunday. Not just that, this will be the first ever episode of Two Jagoffs that will be on camera. On-camera episodes will not be a continuing thing. This is a new feature that I'm testing out this Sunday with my special guest. I'll be doing it over Zoom. It's going to be an interview that comes out. It should be around Sunday evening, I would hope. But it's my third interview I've ever done on the podcast. Devontae D and Kane Warner were the first two. This man right here, he's agreed to come on the show. I'm very excited for it. I already got all the questions and stuff prepared. This is a big career opportunity for me, so I'm really excited to share
Bummed
this.
out I won't be there.
I apologize. I'm very excited for it, so let's just say this is going to be a great episode. You guys do not want to miss it. Also, the social media pages have been popping off. Lots of bonus content. Lucas, you were the butt of the joke, unfortunately, in this most recent recent week's promo video, which did great numbers, by the way. So thank you for being a good sport for that.
Great on TikTok too. And I know you don't look at that, but it did really good.
I
did get some criticism from work today. They said I was too soft on you. That I should have, and I said out of respect to Lucas and his mother, I took it easy on him because he doesn't like hot stuff because I was going to do the hot chip challenge. And I already did the push-ups with him, so I wasn't going to make you do that. You know what I mean? Because I respect you too much. Plus,
yeah,
don't worry. Me and Kevin would have failed that if either of us had to do that.
Had it been Austin, I'd have made him run. What it was called in basketball, suicides. He'd have been doing suicides.
That's a you thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you would have been filming him puking in the bushes.
I won't be puking. I could actually do suicides. Suicides I could do.
No, me chasing you can't. But no, they just said I was too soft on it. I explained to him, like, hey, he's a good kid. You know, had it been my son, I wouldn't have been as soft. Had it been Kevin, I definitely would not have been.
Poor Kevin. You were probably hoping it was Kevin that would lose.
Actually, I kind of was. We were going to shave his mustache.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh, I know he's listening right now. He's probably going to be texting me like crazy as soon as this episode comes out.
And Kevin, just so you know, I heard what you said about my pizza, pal. I heard you. Message received. And that's just for me and Kevin.
If you don't get the joke, Lucas, there's an inside joke when Kevin comes over my house that he does not eat when it's my dad that is the one who's cooking.
Oh, no more. He said through the Alexa the one day I was there. And,
oh, he did?
Your dad came up and had words with him.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I did.
Friendly words, but words.
Very friendly.
I don't know if they were
Very
friendly, but...
They were mutual.
whatever.
Friendly banter.
Friendly banter. Well, yes, this Sunday, though, we have a very special interview going to happen, so stay tuned for that. This Tuesday, we also have another bonus episode as well. And with that being said, most of these Sundays, every other week, we got an interview. I'm very excited for it to implement some new content. Definitely going to have some more game shows. Mr. Jack Dean will be back on for a special in the coming weeks as well.
Who I owe an apology to, by the way.
Yeah, we all apologize, Mr. Jack Dean. You were correct. And then Dad Lucas, of course, we will do our weekly episode where we talk about some Pittsburgh sports, some Pittsburgh news, and just our daily lives. Because why not? We've been stressed out about football all year. Now it's time to sit back and unwind before the draft. Any final words, gentlemen? I think that'll do it.
You want to do a how about those Chiefs, even though they lost? Or are you good?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I'll be Eagles flying out the window if I say that, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. Thank you again so much for tuning in to Two Jagoffs. Until next time, we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.